Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar. I hope you're well. Today we will talk about stress management and we will talk about how you can cope with stress better. I hope this session will be useful for everyone and you will learn something new or something that you can share with someone. So let's begin. The structure for today is I will talk a bit about myself and we'll talk about why stress is important, why it's important to manage it, what can be done to reduce stress, or can stress at all be reduced. We will talk about coping strategies and what can be done to cope with stress better. And I will talk a bit about my program, and you will learn how I can maybe help you or someone else. If we will have time, we will also have a Q&A session, or you can, I will share links later on where you can leave your questions for later. So the session is planned to be for 20 minutes, so I want it to be very productive and hopefully you will learn something new, and let's get into it. So firstly, about me, my name is Anastasia. I have done a few studies and I'm also currently a scientist in training. I also have my own practice. I'm specialist in the women health and weight loss, so I help women lose some weight and get into healthier habits and manage their stress as well. In terms of today's session, before we start talking about the theory part of things, I would like to ask you a question. Can you please rate how you think, how stressed are you right now? So if you can leave it in the comment, and think as well if you can rate how stressed you are when you are at home, at work, and also when sleeping. So you can leave a comment, and hopefully this will also make you think a bit more about your situation and how you perceive how stressed are you basically. So prior speaking about managing stress and coping with stress, it's important to identify what is stress at all. So this is basically reaction of our body to something that we perceive as a threat. Perceive here is very important word because you maybe notice from your own life experience that while you might be very stressed about exam, for example, some people just don't care. So this is because the way we perceive stress is different, and for one person something can be stressful, while for the other one it's not a big deal. So then stress also can be different. So it can be physical stress, it can be mental, emotional, and metabolic as well. So it's important to distinguish between those. But generally, stress is good because this is the way our body deals with something. So everything that happens during stressful event is there in order for you to deal with it and also to find a solution, basically. So generally, it's good. But just like with any other things, if there's a lot of stress, then in long term as well, then issues can start. And today we will talk a bit about these issues. Yeah, that's why a lot of people want to manage it and cope with stress, because they don't want to have complications. So here I have a few images showing why stress and managing stress is important. So as you can see, something happens in the digestive system, immune health as well, menstrual cycle or reproductive health, and also something to do with blood sugar. But we will talk about it in the detail. Here I just wanted to give an overview. So what stress does exactly to our body. So to begin with, there has to be a stressor, so something that you perceive as a threat or danger. Then basically your brain realizes that something is a threat, and then your sympathetic nervous system comes into place. It gets switched on, and this leads to all the other events. So this happens in order for you to be able to cope with the stressful situation, to process it, and to basically find a solution as well. So what happens is your blood rate increases. So the blood comes to all the vital organs and delivers oxygen to it for the energy. Then also you breathe more because your body needs more oxygen to use it for energy, and that's why you start to breathe more. Then your blood vessels need to constrict, so that all the blood goes to basically vital organs. So some people find that if they're stressed, their hands, for example, become cold. That's because all the blood goes to all other organs that need to come up with solution. For example, a lot of blood can go into the brain because brain needs to think, and so on and so forth. So, but while these systems work, something has to be turned off, because your body cannot do a lot of things at the same time. So then usually the reproductive system gets switched off. So if ovulation, for example, so we know that stress, people who have a lot of stress in their lives and exposed to a lot of stress, their fertility might be a bit not functioning to the best. Then our immune system also gets not really turned off, but sort of inhibits activity. And then digestion as well. So because when if we think about the times where people had to run away from their threats, when you are running away from a lion, for example, you don't want to be focusing on something that is not going to help you to run away from the lion, basically. So digestion would be switched off. So how all these things happen, basically our adrenal glands, on the left you can see the picture of the kidneys, and on top there are those yellow sort of things. These are adrenal glands, and inside there are some hormones that are being produced. So adrenaline, that's responsible for basically the blood rate, to increase blood rate, to increase respiratory activity, and the constriction of the vessels basically happens there. So this hormone helps to deal with this part of the situation. And then there's also cortisol. So that one suppresses the immune system, and it also does something to the blood sugar, so that you have basically the energy to deal with your stressor. That's why some people who have a lot of stress in their lives, they tend to have some craving for the sweet, for example. So important thing to consider here is that adrenals are tightly connected with the thyroid, for example. So, and the thyroid is also important organ that helps us helps our body to it's responsible for the metabolic system. So that's why when adrenals under too much stress, and they work together, so if there's too much stress in the life, after adrenals are exhausted, thyroid becomes also compromised. So probably you know all of that, but I thought that it's important to cover a bit of the science and theory, because then it's clear, the other parts are more clear. So a lot of people who might come to nutritionists or to any other healthcare professional, health coaches, they can say that, yeah, but I'm not stressed. But then all other symptoms can be seen you can see that they have cravings or something wrong with their digestive system. It's not functioning to its full capacity, and a lot of other symptoms that can be there. So it's important to identify and acknowledge that there is stress in your life as well. So another question to think about is, can you actually avoid stress? Can it always be avoided? So let me know what you think. But maybe a bit of disappointing answer here would be that no, you cannot always avoid stress. And a lot of people think they can, but sometimes it's just not so easy. For example, if stress comes from your work, but at the same time you really like what you do, so you cannot really avoid it. But I don't want people to be discouraged by that, because it's important to remember that your health is in your control, and knowledge is as well power. So there are a lot of things that you can do in order to manage your stress and manage your problem better. It's the only thing that is missing is willingness, of course, to do it. So if you do nothing about it, then obviously nothing will happen. So it's important to have this motivation to change things or to do something about it. So here we will talk about how to cope with stress, but this is a really tricky topic, I find. And to speak generally, it's not so easy. But I think at the same time, the most important thing, as I mentioned before, is to acknowledge that you are stressed, that something is wrong. This can be through symptoms that you experience. Maybe you are sick more often, or you feel all the time that you have some cravings, and it's not helping your situation. Or for example, if you feel that it's impacting how you feel about yourself, or how you are at home as well with your family. So it's important to acknowledge the fact that you might be exposed to too much stress. One of the things that you can do to cope better is to talk about it to someone. This can be another family member or your friend, or you can also talk to yourself. Some people like this idea of talking to themselves. I know some people that do that, and they say that it's always nice to talk to a smart person. So yeah, and basically find the solution, because you can talk about it, of course, for days, for weeks, but if it's just talking and it doesn't lead anywhere, then it doesn't help, does it? So what this means, find the solution, because it's easier to say than to do, of course, is it helps to write down things. So if, for example, stress comes from the work, if you feel overwhelmed at work because there's too much happening, or it can be also that somebody at your work is not doing what they should be doing, for example, then just sit down and write it. Find really what is the key issue there. It can be some other person. It can be what you do currently is not helping the situation, for example, or it can be that you are not doing anything at all, because what happens a lot is that people know what is an issue, they know what needs to be done, but they just don't do it. And then if you are not doing something, think about why. Is it because something else prevents you from accomplishing this important task? Or is it because you feel like it's not the right solution? Then if it's not the right solution, then you need to come a few steps back and think about what can be the right solution. Because at the end of the day, it's all about doing things. So then you need to come up with a plan as well. So this can be speaking to someone. If it's about work, you can speak to someone who can help. For example, HR in big companies, they are not for nothing. So if you have some issue, you can talk to them. Or maybe you need to speak to your boss to say that you have too many things, for example, going on at your work. But something has to be done, and for sure there is something that can be done. It's also important to consider that, as I said before, the stressor is usually perceived by us. So it can also be that you are just perceiving something not in the same way. So there are a lot of things that can be done to change the way you perceive something. So, for example, if it's someone at work that can say something that quickly becomes a bit too much, then you can try to think why you react like this to what this person is saying, for example. But it's important to do something in order to find the solution. Basically, that's sort of summary of this slide. It's very difficult to talk about particular things because stressful situations are different, but I hope that with these small examples, I managed to illustrate what I mean when I talk about coping with stress. So if you like these kind of topics, you can follow me on Instagram. I will be sharing more interesting information there. As part of my program, for example, premium membership plan, I help my clients to deal with stress as well. Then we can really go deeper into the situation and find solutions, basically. So this is my new program. I changed recently the structure, and it's all aimed to get into the root cause of the situation, including stress. So if you're interested, feel free to book a free discovery call, and I will be happy to help you or someone with their situation. Also, let's connect. I love chatting to people, and not only to help someone, but generally to connect with different interesting people. I have two Instagram accounts. First one is my women health nutrition clinic, and the other one is child nutrition. So let's connect. And thank you for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat box below or in a comment, because it's always nice to interact a bit. But I want you to leave this session feeling empowered as well, because you are in control of your health, and it is always about acting on your problem. So basically, when you identified that something is not going well, the first thing to do is to find a solution. So you can always improve, you can always do something about it, and I want you to feel that you are in control. So thank you once again, and I will leave some interesting links in the comment box. I mean, in the how is it called? In the details below. So please subscribe and comment and share this video, and I hope to see you soon.